talk show. Where we're kicking it and having fun on inspirational radio. We're the talk show. Kicking it and having fun. So turn your radio up.
Good evening out there in radio land. This is Senator John L. Lewis. And I'm urging everyone to get out there and vote. Get out there and register to vote. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, whatever you are. Get out there and vote. I was beaten bloody over 40 times, pushed down in the marches with Dr. Martin Luther King. I marched side by side with him. And now I am urging all our citizens to vote, especially young people, because you are the future. Get out there and vote. I don't care if you have to go in the outhouse, in the courthouse, or in your mama's house. You need to get out there and vote today.
Your mama's house, okay.
Outhouse. With the outhouse though.
Outhouse and your mama's house.
Sometimes you vote at the same time when you're doing your business.
Okay, I didn't know that, but now I know.
Yeah, sometimes you take the ballot in there and you fill it out while you're in there. And you have to do some things, and you may have to scratch it out and redo it because it get messed up in there sometimes.
Yes, Thank you, John.
Listen,
Thank you, John. Okay.
I don't care where you have to go. This election is so crucial to so many people. Don't sit by and let your vote not be heard. Cast your vote today. Get out there right now, wherever you are, under the sound of my voice, in the name that's above every name, and vote. I don't care what you have to do. So many people have fought and died for the right for you to be able to cast your ballot. Won't you do it today? Won't you give us your time and your vote?
Yes, sir, Mr. Lewis.
Yeah,
Now that I've said that, listen, let me come on here and say how godly proud I am of this little radio show you guys got.
You can't do it.
So many wonderful things come out of this programming. You guys touch so many hearts in the community, and I listen to you on a regular basis, and I want you to know I love each and every one of you. You hear me?
yes. We
I
love you
the
too.
love of the Lord, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Listen, Deacon Seaworth, let me tell you something, brother. You got the heart and mind of the people because you want to do better and be better, and I love that about you. Do you hear me? LaSonia Witt, I know somebody in heaven named you LaSonia Witt because you're smart. You hear me? You're smart. You got see, they named you Witt for a reason. You thought it was just your family name, but it fits you. You're smart. You're smart.
She got the wit.
Yeah,
wit.
She got that wit. She got that wit. Listen, I know the bishop is somewhere listening to this. Wherever he's at, y'all tell him for me if he's not in there in the studio with you. That man is going to stand on a platform bigger than the state of Texas. You watch what I tell you, and he going to say what thus saith the Lord in a minute. I'm telling you, he going to get loose, and ain't nobody going to be able to stop him. He's going to be out there saying stuff and doing stuff for the kingdom that's going to be bold and audacious. That's what he is. He's bold and audacious for the Lord. You hear me?
Okay, John.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Now listen, thank y'all for having me out here on this radio thing, and I'm gonna be back closer to November to tell you one more again to get out there and do what you're supposed to. Now y'all go sit down somewhere.
And bring the bishop on. Come on, John. Bring our friend back.
So I took my mom to the Martin Luther King Memorial in Atlanta, and I don't know if you guys have been there before, but when you walk into the museum, they have the footsteps out there, and John Lewis' footsteps was out there, and she was trying to put her feet in there. He had some big feet,
Come on
Some
now.
big shoes to fill.
Come on now.
But she was out there taking all the little pictures of the feet and stuff. She was just really, really exciting. It's super inspiring. And I wouldn't have thought that, seeing people's shoe size and stuff, but it had everybody's shoe size out there. Rosa Parks, she had little baby feet.
Little baby feet.
Yeah, she had some little baby feet.
Little baby feet. Mm-hmm.
She couldn't have been walking on them feet.
No, sir.
Hey, I want you to know, even though they all had different sizes, all of their steps were ordered by God.
They were.
Well,
They
right.
were. Yeah. So if you're in Atlanta, y'all got a nice little spot out there. I would encourage anybody going through Atlanta to definitely make a trip through there. I took my kids a couple of times to that museum. So thank you for John Bishop.
Yeah, Bishop.
He got a little country at the end. He's a very educated man.
Yes,
he
he
got
is.
a little country at the end of that conversation. So he's on his countryside.
Mm-hmm. Dion brings.
I mean, he is from Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So
And he brought it up. Talking about outhouses and stuff like that. I'm like, that's Alabama.
Well, I mean, he is older man too.
Hmm?
Not like R. Kelly. He's an older man, just an older man, but not an older man who love all women.
mm-hmm. Okay.
I wouldn't put that up.
Yeah, I told you, Dion. Bishop gonna say something. Bishop gonna do something. Bishop gonna
All
do
right.
something.
I'm an older
We
man.
got a lot going on tonight.
Yes, sir.
I want Lasagna's going to actually introduce our guest tonight because we got a guest host tonight. I'm super excited. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself, and very, very soon, very soon, you guys will really know why we have her up here. But if you saw the flyer that I put out today, by the end of this discussion, we are really going to discuss, or at least start the conversation about what it really looks like to be bold in Christ. But before we do that, I want to introduce, or I want Lasagna to introduce our guest tonight. Tell us all about them because they got a good relationship. They know each other really, really good. So I'm ready to get on that level. So Lasagna, go ahead and kick us off.
All right, we'll bring it to the stage. Introducing, okay. Chanel Smith, she comes to us from corporate America. She's a senior manager in a Fortune 500 company, and I've had the pleasure to work with her several years in several different capacities. And so we brought her on the show today to tell us about her background and about how she navigates her life in corporate America and whatever she would like to share about her life that she wants our audience to know about her as well. When you know people, you don't know what they want to say or what they don't want to say. So we're going to give her the liberty of saying what thus says she wants to say.
You're so gracious. You're so gracious. So gracious. So good evening, everyone. I'm Chanel. I am a native, actually, of Chicago. I've only been living in Texas for the last 10 plus years.
Okay.
I relocated, it was such a cultural change and everything. It was a shock to my system.
Especially the driving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is, because I do not like to drive.
You didn't have to worry about seeing people shooting all the time.
No, it's very quiet where I live at. Really, where I moved from to where I currently live at now is a totally 360. So I decided to move to Texas for not only a lifestyle change, but I have two sons. When we made the transition, one of them was a junior in high school and the other one was a sixth grader. Mm-hmm. Now, both of them are in their 20s. They're young Black men navigating work, coming into the business place. So that's where I kick in at. But this has been a life-changing experience for me, relocating from Chicago, where I knew everybody. That was my comfort zone. I was born and raised in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And I had a family. I have a family that's kind of well known around the city. So got around, had a good time. Did a 360 when I moved to Texas, though. Stopped hanging out. Not going to the clubs or even to the bars. And I did that intentionally for my sons. I needed to give them something different. Living in Chicago, their father is a police officer. So they were cop kids, 2 Black boys. They would have been like little menaces in Chicago because they would have they're spoiled. They're very sheltered. They were very sheltered in Chicago. So we moved here to do something a little bit different and to show them something different. They needed to know how to maneuver around all types of people, just not the people that they were comfortable with. So as I was taking them out of their comfort zone, I was totally out of my comfort zone moving here. But I was blessed enough to be able to relocate and keep my job at the same company I had been working for since I was 21 years old. I grew up in that company. I've had 2 kids within that corporate America in that same company, different capacities, moved around, worked, started, to view life a little bit different when I got down here because I moved down here 1 year after visiting my cousin. And this was the first place that I felt at peace. I felt a closeness that I hadn't felt in a very long time. I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandmother was Southern Baptist. So we went to church about 6 days a week.
Oh, grandmama didn't play.
So
No,
I was that kid. I was that church kid. I was the kid everybody prayed over because everybody like, where your mom at, where your daddy at, you with your grandmama. Now we're gonna have to pray for you because you're gonna need some extra blessings in life. So, I grew up as that curious kid and wanted to know, I want to know why this happened. And I was also that kid, like, I'm going to do this. That same outcome that happened to them, that ain't going to happen to me. So I got older and life started lifing. And I just prayed to God, I wanted to do it my way. I was like, God, that's just too straight and narrow. Like, what's going on there?
Going down your lane, Bishop.
Yeah, I got out there. I was in them streets. I wanted to see what it was, what everybody was doing, and what everybody was talking about. Got out there, it wasn't nothing what everybody was talking about. I was like, that's not the desired effect. So I started making my own stuff. Wanted to do things and experience things, but I always was close to my grandmother, and I had a praying grandmother. My grandmother knew whenever I was doing something. And we talked every morning at 5 a.m. before I would go to work or do anything. So I came to Texas. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you. All right. So from Chicago, so culture change. You're a senior manager.
Yep.
You're a woman.
Oh,
you're a Christian. In corporate America, can you what's been your experience with that?
There's been roadblocks because I'm also a single mom.
I wrote that down too.
They thought that there's perception. I was, before people saw me, they knew. Sometimes they knew that I was Black. But then when people got to know me, oh, you don't act Black. I'm like, well, what's acting Black?
What's
this work. I'm like, this work, we can't act how we really want to act at work. So it was, what I came up against the most was people always having a preconceived conception of me. And then me having to prove them wrong. I've always had to work twice as hard as my counterparts. Getting paid less than my counterparts and knowing it. When you know your worth and you know how much you're getting paid and it's not as equivalent to your counterparts and they doing what you do or less than what you do, you know, that was a bitter pill to swallow. But I had to put that pride aside because I had stuff to do. I like to shop. So, and I also knew that having two Black sons working in corporate America, that was going to work for me because there's structure, there's stability, there's a natural plan of progression for people in my position, not people or women of my color. And I also had to work on not showing how I felt because I got some facial expressions like, now, you know, that's the dumbest fish. You know, you sit in the meeting, you like, now, you know, you ain't supposed to be saying it out loud, right? But being a Black woman in corporate America, we're always perceived as knowing less. No matter what education you have, no matter what experience or work background. And we tend to do a little bit more. But what I had to learn is I had to work smarter, not harder. I had to learn the rules of the road the hard way because I felt like I needed to get my point across in the beginning. But I've learned to tone it down. I listen more than I talk. And that has been a valuable tool for me. I could fit in a room where people invite me in. I don't fight at a table I was invited to. There's no need for me to have to hear what I got to say, hear what I got to say. And we went through this exercise in one of our coaching, our coaches at the company I work for, she told me one day, she said, chameleon. I said, I have to be. I'm a Black woman. And at the time, she didn't understand until we got through the exercise, because where everybody started at the beginning of the exercise, I started from the end of the exercise and worked my way through to the front of the exercise. And she was like, well, what was the notion of that? I was like, well, we already had all them people at the beginning working. It wasn't no room for me there. So I'm gonna need to start back here and meet them in the middle. I learned more working my way backwards, forward. Because people teach you what they want you to know. They don't always teach you the right way of doing it. They don't teach you just enough.
I want to ask you, so you mentioned something earlier about, you know, I've had this conversation before, right? Where it feels like I'm doing the work of, you know, maybe somebody that's superior or someone that's getting paid or has a position or has a title, more so. And what I heard in your conversation is the patience, because I do feel like we have to work harder, you know, to get different things, or I love the way you said smarter, but, you know, eventually did you get to where things seem to balance out at that point? Because I think people lose hope in that season where they're feeling like they're being misused or their talent or whatever is being overlooked. So I think we give up in that, especially in our culture sometimes. But sometimes that's the thing that kind of pushes us through, that gives us the work ethic, that gives us the wisdom. Like once we get to that level, we know like 10 times more than the people who didn't have to go what we went through to get there. Does that make sense? Am I making sense there?
And it's funny that you said that, Shelton, because I felt about a year and a half ago, I was where I wanted to be. But what I found out is when I arrived where I thought I wanted to be, it wasn't nothing that I wanted. So the work, but what I appreciated about the journey in corporate America is because the things that you learn in corporate America, you can apply to your personal life. That's one thing I must say, because you it's a lot of structure, it's a lot of guidelines, and some of those principles you can apply to your personal life to help with growth in your personal area. But yeah, I found that once I arrived there, I was like, yeah, is this really what I want? So now I'm questioning myself. After
Okay.
27 years, do I walk away and follow my purpose? What I know God has called me to do. And that's
Okay.
people. You know,
Okay.
this position I'm in now, it's about the people. I stay because of my team. It's not so much as I like what I do. I like the people I work with. And I like to help them grow to get where they want to go. But it's also pulling me away from my purpose. And I have to make a choice pretty soon because it's getting to a point. I like my people I work with, but I don't like what I do.
Right.
And,
Right.
every day you have to get up and you have to ask yourself, is this really what I'm called to do? Is this what I want to do? It ain't what you're called to do, but how long can I keep ignoring that voice telling me to do what I need to do and step out on faith? And that's what Miss Lasagna has been helping me with a lot of the coaching that she's been in my ear, and she knows, sometimes I don't hear that, I don't hear, I hear what you saying. I hear God too. I hear him loud. Don't worry about that because I ain't going to sleep. He waking me up like, baby, it's time to do what I done called you to do. So being a Christian in corporate America, you are challenged. People don't too much mess with you because they know you're going to tell it like it is. It's not going to be hard feelings, but you're going to just say what it is. But also, as you move up the corporate ladder, they don't want to hear that because that's not what they believe in. It's very few companies that, really talk about religion, even though we're all inclusive. That's taboo. That's not what they talk about. And they don't ask you that in the survey. What's your religion? What's your background? They don't ask that. So navigating, the longer that you stay in corporate America, you have to make some choices where you're not compromising yourself and what you believe in, your core values as a Christian, because it is challenging. A lot of times I've called and I'm like, I need some help. How do I position this that I'm doing the right thing and also still helping out and do what my job is calling me to do? And that's when you're at a crossroad. And I think that's where I'm at now. As much as I love corporate America and I love what I do, I don't think it's for me. Because there's a hindrance there that you can't walk in your true self. You can't walk and be who you're called to be and listening to what man telling you what you should be.
And see, I work with her. Like, I worked with her for years, so I get it. Like, we work together, different, same team and stuff. This is the most honest interview you probably gonna have. Most time they come on here and tell you something, which, no, that ain't what I need to be doing right now. So I appreciate the transparency, because we want to know, how do you navigate? And I think what you're saying is crucial, because at this point in time where we're at this point in history, it's a lot going on in the world. And it's a lot of transition happening, whether people paying attention to it or not. It's a lot going on. And I don't think you're the only one that God is whispering to, because I think it's getting critical. It's getting down to the wire. When I say that, in the laws that they're making, the stuff that's going on, we're going to be backed into a corner. This is what they're trying to do sooner or later. What do you really believe? What are you really going to do? So I appreciate you being honest with us and telling us the challenge with, this is what I'm doing, but this is where I need to be. And then how do I position myself and navigate myself to get from here to there? So we appreciate that, honestly.
Yeah, it took me a minute to get here, but I think COVID kind of set the groundwork. It set the foundation to what the new workplace, corporate America, was going to be. Because now you got to worry about people mental health, their physical health, not even all the time about the job, because your mental health affects what you do at work in corporate America. And being a people manager that I am, I'm pulled in a lot of directions, because do you tell people what's good for them in the moment, or do you tell them what God is telling you to tell them, what they need to hear, not what they want to hear?
And that seems to be a huge challenge. I see
It is.
Bishop. I'm gonna interrupt Bishop over here. He done made so many faces.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm trying to figure out what's
He down here in the corner talking about what you want to do. What? You making some money? What you talking about, daughter? But
Yeah, money don't make you happy, though.
making that big money. Making that big money.
So,
No.
just to clear it up in terms of, do you tell them what God's saying or not? I believe you tell them, because at the end of the day, you got your man laws or your corporate laws or whatever, but you got God laws, and if He's telling you to say it, it's definitely for a reason. You could literally save their life, you know what I'm saying? And holding that information from them could literally get their life taken. And that's how you got to look at it. It's that serious. When God is telling you to say something, you got to step out there on that, because you may not get another chance. If you blow that chance and you blow it off and you just say, well, I'm going to just give them a little bit. No, you got to tell them exactly. Now, you don't have to get all deep and powerful. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I swear by Jacob, I no, you listen. I feel like that this would help you, doing this, and this, because blah, 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 and be through with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you got to complete your assignment, because a lot of times those assignments are tests, and if you don't pass the test, you're gonna keep taking it.
Oh Lord, we're gonna keep taking the test. Keep taking the test.
If you don't pass the test, you're gonna keep taking it.
Mm-hmm.
Sheldon, you see your friend?
I see him.
Somebody say
he must have a birthday coming up.
That's what that is.
He must got a birthday coming up. He acting like a person that got a birthday coming up.
Already passed. We done got past that, baby. We here now. We here. It's official, like a ref with a whistle. Come on, talk to me. Hear me.
Yeah, he got a birthday.
Talk to me, Goose.
I echo what Lasagna said. Definitely about the transparency, because I think we all get to a stage in our life, right, where especially when God reveals to you what you're really made for, and then you see what you're doing. And my encouragement to you is that you are doing what God made you for, but you're doing it in one of my mentors described to me like fish bowls, basically. Mm-hmm. So we got all these different fish bowls. Like when you say you're a people leader and that you're supposed to speak in people's lives, that's what you're doing in your job. That's what's making you successful. That's the part of your job that you like, because that's what you're made for. Mm-hmm. But as soon as God takes you out of that and puts you on the platform that He's really put you in your heart, it's a bigger platform. It may look different, but again, it's still you operating as that people person, as that person that likes to pour into people and likes to see people successful. So, I had to wrap my head around that, because, we can be that for our families and just our families, right? And never, operate outside of that. We can be there for our jobs, and the job can take advantage of all of that skill set for what they need.
Sir.
But then we can be that in church. We can be it, but if God is leading you to have a bigger platform or a different arena that He wants you to use your brightness and your glow and your light in, that's definitely something we got to pull towards, and it's a challenge. It really is, because you get comfortable. I wrote down, you said 27 years. You don't even look like you could be at a job for 27 years.
You're trying to look all young tonight. Look at
black on crack. Black on crack.
It's genetic. Thank you very much.
Yeah. But 27 years, you get comfortable. Even if it's something that that gives you stress or gives you whatever, it's still comfortable. It's known. You're right.
Yeah.
And so normally what God is calling us to is a little unknown. It has some things on it that we probably ain't never done before, or we're still trying to figure out, But that's where the faith comes in. So definitely stay encouraged. When it comes to that.
Get down to the end. I'm gonna tell about her life right here on the air.
Oh, you're so generous. You're so generous.
It's 7:30. We going to the second half of the show, but no, she's a system person, and I she make a lot of money being a consultant. She can come into a situation, look how a system is operating, and be like, okay, this is how you streamline this. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. She has implemented so many different ways of doing stuff. They'll say this is what we need done, but she's the one that comes in there at the ground level and make a system change. And like she can do that in any arena. And I told her, I said, you need to look at consulting, get a small business, and then put your stuff out there. And when people call for people, all she had to do is be there a few days and be like, okay, this need to go here, this need to go here. She's always been like a system, putting places in putting the pieces together, because a lot of our management, I was at a particular company working with her when COVID hit 2020. And being I told them she was a crisis manager. This is what I mean. Nobody knew what was going to happen. The company shut down. They don't know who left and who's there. She came in there. She made everybody calm down. This is what we're going to do. There's no reason to panic. All you can do is what you can do. We had a skeleton team. We're going to be okay. We can make it. We got to do this. They changed everything on the dime. The way we did business, that's over. It's something new. She came in there and streamlined it. That's what we have to do, transition. And a lot of people with higher pay, different position, they putting in invoices while she up there saving the company. So it's a lot of times you put into your place or position by crisis, but that's really what she got in her wheelhouse. So I'm just telling you that consulting is for you. Side, get that little consultant going and going and see companies that might be in trouble. And it's like, okay, just be there a few days. Say, okay, streamline this, do this, do this, do that. She's excellent with that, and excellent with people, talking them off the cliff. And it's like she get them together and say, because the truth is, you calm, but you don't even know what's going to happen. Nobody knew what's going to happen in 2020. But she didn't get on there panicking, talking everybody off the ledge on the phone 10, 11 o'clock at night. Nope, calm down, take a deep breath. We're going to be okay. We're going to ride this out. Life is cyclical. It go up and it go down. It go cycle. So I'm just telling her to encourage her that that's just in you. A real leader come to the top in crisis. Anybody can be a leader in good times, but the leadership skills come out when everything crashed. It's like, oh man, half the team gone. 70% of the company been let go on a dime. It's like, okay, what we gonna do now with what we got left? So I just wanted to encourage you there. That's in your wheelhouse. That system, crisis management, system changer, system organizer. So think about that now. I'm telling you.
I think it. And I think we stay. Black people stay in corporate America for a long time too, because of the comfortability and the money.
Mm-hmm.
I think we get comfortable with what we're doing and we're not really being challenged, but you actually are being challenged in your spirit, and challenged with dealing with some different type of people. But I also feel like I've been with the company so long because I know the people, I know the systems, I know change is coming and nobody isn't going to really do what I do. And I also like my pay.
Yeah, that's good, Bishop. That is. That's six figures. Baby, that's what that is. That right there.
It's shelter. I agree with you. Like walking in your purpose. I be asking Sonya like, now, that purpose comes with some money because, I still got a mortgage on my house. And I be like, that scares me sometimes to stay in that situation when that's not really what I like the people. But it's my mortgage, my bill saying, girl, you got to make this work somehow and just, do this for another year. And that year become another year and another year. And then they offer you another position and you just be like,
that's what they did. That's what they did.
I wasn't going to interview for that. But
you see, Chanel, I understand. And it's probably a different topic for a different show, but I'll say this. I'm actually going through the season that you're talking about, right this second. I'm in that season, you know what I mean? But I will tell you this, before I took the job that I was at before, And I ended up going to director level, very successful. The money was really, really good. I prayed before I took the job because I already knew that this radio show, J Agape, which is my company outside of here, is my passion and what God, built me for, really, right? I said, God, you know me. I have the tendency to get comfortable. So when it's time for me to go, you're just gonna have to push me out. And the way they actually came to me a year and a half ago and gave me a package. My teams I had 6 warehouses that I was over. My teams were top. There was no reason that I would be the one that they would pick for that, where they would send on his way and give him, a lump sum of money or to leave at that particular point. So
I take that.
At first, it bothered me because I was like, why would you do that? But then the first thing I remembered after that was that prayer. This was God saying, look, I'm pushing you out the net, son. I'm pushing you out the net, son. And I need you to trust me on that. And so really for the last year and a half has been a challenge of my faith at a different level. Like I felt before then that I had strong faith in God. But like now, every inch of me, and Lasagna's one of my people that I call sometimes when I'm struggling in my faith. You got to have people around you that can encourage you and that can confirm, what God is saying. So whatever decision you go, or whenever you decide to make those decisions, just trust me. You're not the only one. And I know that there's a lot of people who we look at now as successful that had to make that leap and do something different. And I know that God has something better for me. He wouldn't call me for it if it wasn't better than what I was at before. So that's definitely my encouragement there.
Appreciate
Anything else the interview wise before we transition? Because you guys have already said some stuff that I think lend into the topic that I want to get into, which is what does it really mean to be bold in Christ? And I want to touch on something you said earlier, Chanel, where you're saying that being in corporate America, you can't talk about religion. Like I don't know if there's certain laws or what, but I just know that it's taboo to talk about, religion or anything like that. So this topic came to mind because of a conversation that I had like a week ago with a group of brothers, believers. I'm not, say where or whatever, but we were all believers. And we were having a conversation about being influential as Christians, right? And my piece of the conversation was my experience in corporate America. So in my experience with corporate America, being in that position, not being able to quote scriptures or talk about Jesus, like when I'm talking in front of a group of people, I can't talk like that. But my character was super key. How I responded to situations, if we had layoffs, if we had, things that didn't work out, keeping my peace and keeping my joy and keeping, just keeping my faith, people would see that. Yeah. And I realized that because, some people would come to my office and, they'd say in other words, in some words, I perceive you're a man of faith. Right? Never said Jesus, never talked about, scripture or anything. And then they would open up and share different things with me that would allow me to have a discipleship conversation or a witness conversation, a very transparent, whatever type of conversation that was needed for that time. Again, in most of those cases, wouldn't even have to really bring up God. Like I could confirm and I'm definitely that. And I'm at first it would surprise me because, I'm like, I don't have this blue, this sign on my forehead or say this is what I'm about. But, there was still something that people recognized in me and that caused them to approach me, right? So I brought that up in that meeting. where I felt that our character makes way for us to have influence on people.
Yep.
And so one of the responses back to me was, well, as Christians, basically, I think he was thinking that what I was saying was timid. Like, I should be walking up in that place of business and being like, I'm Jesus's brother.
Walk in and get
Repent, or you going to him? Like he wanted, he said we need to be bold. We need to be bold in that. And I was listening to him, and he was walking through his thought process about being bold. And I'm, anybody that's listening right now, I'm not trying to put down people who want to do street ministry or, hand out tracts or whatever. But he brought all of that up. And I remember growing up in church. You grew up in a Baptist church. I grew up in a Baptist church and it's a Pentecostal, but learning, this definition of boldness, which was what I'm realizing right now was an aggressive approach. Like, I got something that you need to have right now, or it's over. And if you don't get this the way I got it, there's a problem. You going to hell. Like, I grew up in that environment, and over the last couple of years, I was telling Sonya this earlier, I feel like God has been kind of breaking down my thought process on how God has been introduced to me or taught to me, and rebuilding it up for me, right? So that's the story behind why this question came up, because I really want to have a discussion now behind what does it really mean to be bold in Christ? What does that look like for you? So any of y'all can jump into that.
Me and Sheldon had a good time before we got on this radio station today. We need to say this show.
You're right. Being bold, what it means to me, being me. And why I say being me, I'm going to say what I want to say, but I'm going to say it in kindness, with a smile. And I think that's what breaks people down, because when I'm telling you something about yourself, I'm smiling. I have a very even tone. I'm talking to you as if I would want it to be said to me that way. And I use it a lot at work, because I'm always walking around smiling. And I had to tell my team this year, just because I smile, my smile means a million things. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm in agreement. This smile is for you so that you could be comfortable with what I'm about to tell you, and so that you can receive it. And being bold to me is never having to explain who I am and why I do what I do and how I live the way that I live. I live out loud because people know what I like. I'm going to do what I do. I'm not looking around like, well, how you feel about me? I can care less how you feel about me, because you may or may not like me. And I may or may not like you, but you will never know, because that's just not what we do. I try to treat people in a way that they feel accepted. And being bold sometimes is you allowing others to live and sit in their indifference for a while, because you have to allow them to come to a place where they feel comfortable being who they are around you and not having to put up a facade. And I say that is because when Miss Witt met me, the first thing she was like, you got a praying grandmama. She was like, you got some walls around you that you ain't letting nobody in. And she was totally right. It took years for us to get to a comfortable place, but it was me being I had to be honest with myself. And at the time I wasn't, but now I walk all in my boldness. I tell people, I'll be like, I'm gonna apologize up front because you may not like what I have to say, but this is just how I feel. Because at this point, I'm too old. I have the patience, but I feel like I've endured and I've earned where I am, and I got to be true to myself. Because if I can't be true to me, I'm not gonna, I can't help anybody else.
I
I
like
like
that.
Yeah, and I got two pair of eyes looking at me, two sons looking at me like, mama, I'm gonna need a wife. I said, baby, they don't be thinking these women out here doing what your mama doing, because it wasn't by choice all the time. So, when you're accountable for little people, you kind of live a little bit different too,
Because they're looking at you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like the
Dion,
bold. Yeah, look at Dion scratching that nose up in here.
what it mean to be bold, man? You street feature type?
No, really, boldness has to do with your obedience. It takes a lot of courage to what God says to do and live how He says to live. It's not about your volume or your outward appearance. That's not being bold. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to come in talking loud and saying nothing.
Mhm.
You can come into the room as quiet and as meek as you want to, but still be bold, because if something is upon you to do, then you do that. And that's what being bold is all about to me.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, you feel me?
And I think sometimes people mistake personality traits for boldness, and they're not. They're two different things.
Right.
People have a calm personality. Some people have a louder personality. But it doesn't mean the calm person is not bold and the loud person is bold. Like they say, be aggressive, get them tracks, that doesn't mean you're bold at all. That could mean you look crazy. That don't you know. That don't mean it. But I think sometimes they equate a personality trait with the word boldness, and they're not synonymous at all. That's just a personality trait. And I think being bold is being authentically you, like previously stated, to be you in an environment. Because let me tell you, I can deal with people different types of ways. Like you got different type of personality types. Like some people you deal with them calm and meek, like like maybe family members. And then some family members, they're not going to deal with that calm meek stuff. You just got to go on and say it to them. And then they be like, oh, okay, I get it. And sometimes you tailor the message for the person, not necessarily tailor who you are. But some people receive it a certain type of way better than someone else. Somebody can receive it a little bit more calmer. Somebody can receive it more aggressively, so to speak. That's because they're different personality type. So I think that we think bold is, being bold, saying it's strong. That doesn't mean you're bold at all. So I think that's a differentiation we need to make when we're stating characteristic personalities or just being something that you believe in and hold steadfast in.
Yeah. And I pulled up the definition or a definition of bold, and all of you guys covered it. Showing the ability to take risks, confident and courageous. So confident in who you are. I'll go a step further and say confident for me personally, confident in who God is making me. Because I can tell you, I love people better than I did 10 years ago. I love them. I love them a little bit. I'm a little bit more patient. I got a little bit more long suffering. I got a little bit, I got more of those characteristics. And I believe the more we embody those type of characteristics, the more we stand out. The Bible actually says that they'll know us by how we love. If you angry all the time, you mad, unapproachable, like all of you guys also, spoke to relationships, knowing some people like when they need a direct conversation. Some people need you to be empathetic with them, put yourself in their shoes and whatever. But all of that starts with building a relationship, and I think, again, the way it's been taught to me over the years, the way I've seen it over the years, I see it, especially with social media now, it's kind of like, somebody do something, we blast them. Like you gotta take what I'm saying, or if you're not saying it or doing it the way I'm doing it, then there's something wrong with you. And we take that as boldness. And again, I know me personally, I'm starting to question: is that really boldness? Is there wisdom in that? Because I guess the next phase of this is ultimately, does it work? Like I feel like it's a shotgun approach when we, get that bullhorn on the side of the road, and we're trying to say, repent or like we're out. These people out here drinking for one, right? You go to Deep Ellum or whatever, with your bullhorn, they out here drinking. They already out here doing what they do. How many of them are actually going to stop and hear what you have to say in that moment? Are they going to receive, what you have to say in that moment? In my experience, it's always been through relationship that I've been able to share Christ with people. Through my experience. And here's the thing about God. Most of the people he brings to me that want to talk, like they dealing with something that I've dealt with personally, something that I've had to overcome. So it makes it even like now I'm an expert. I can relate. Like, yeah, I did that, and this is what it got me. Right? So, I think God works it out that way. And what we have to be bold in, like you said, Chanel, is in our truth. Like you ask me what I believe in and what I don't believe in, or what I affirm or what I don't affirm. Like there's no gray area for that for me, but there's also no judgment for you. It's this is what I believe, this is what I stand for. And I'm confident in that. And I'm okay to be confident in that. And I don't need you to affirm what I'm about, because I really believe it like that, So I don't need you to tell me, oh yeah, Sheldon, I believe that too.
And I think with the bullhorn, if you have to do what God tells you to do, whatever he tells you to do. I may not like it, may not agree with it. It don't matter. You may not even agree with it. Sometimes God tell me stuff, I don't agree with God. And I'll be like, we had a fight. We got to fight it out. I know he's right. I know at the end of the day, he's the ultimate. But in personality wise, if he tell you to get a bullhorn to go in the corner, then get your bullhorn to go in the corner. But don't mistreat me if he don't tell me to get a bullhorn to go in the corner. Let me do me, and while I let you do you, and let's have grace to be okay with whatever he tell us all to do. You have your personality, I have mine. He have my way of reaching people, I have mine. God is huge. He's infinite. It's 8 billion people on this planet. He's creative. He got all kind of ways to reach all kind of people. The way you reach your people may not be the same way I reach mine, the way Chanel reach hers, the way Sheldon and Bishop reach theirs. Everybody have their way that God gave them to reach their people. So we don't have to judge people who don't do it the way you do it and have so much opinion, because if God ran everything he did through 8 billion people through you, then you be God. So we gonna let God be God, and then let the people be them, and then have the grace when it don't look like what I think it look like. That's why I think we need to come to a common ground. Let's don't be upset with the bullhorn, but don't be upset with me because I'm calm, and don't be upset with him when you think he aggressive. Let everybody do what they need to do the way that they feel God called them to do it.
Yeah.
That's what I would say about that.
And I had popped up this scripture. Me and Lasagna was talking about this, because this is one of the scriptures that I hear a lot, but I only hear the second part of it. But the righteous are bold as a lion. This is in Proverbs, but if you read the first part of it, it says the wicked flee when no one pursues. So ain't nobody even messing with them. The wicked's gonna flee, right? I've been wicked before, and I know exactly what that means, right? But the righteous are bold as a lion. That means we stand on our business. We stand firm on whatever. And there's gonna be more and more times where, we're gonna be asked to compromise, what we believe, or try to say something different or do something different when asked. And that's where I believe boldness is. One of the first people I talked to this about when I left that meeting was my wife. And when I had that conversation with her, she said something that was, I think, a great illustration for me. She said she thought of boldness as like when you're highlighting something in a book, like something that stands out. You know what I mean? Like that is, striking or vivid. Like, and it made me think of that scripture that says that, we'll be a light in dark places. So a lot of the offices we go to, a lot of the businesses we go to, dark places. Like there's a lot of arenas that we can go to as Christians, and it's dark. And I believe that the root of our boldness is the fact that when we walk into those places, the light that we have on the inside of us, this that we're allowing to flow out of us, is what lights that place and attracts people, to us to have those type of conversations. But if you dim in your light, remember we had Tanya on here a couple of weeks ago, and I still love that phrase about, are you a filter or are you a flower? Are you letting it flow through you, or are you filtering God's light? I want to be one that I want to transparent. It's all Him, But the more we do that, the more we attract people to us, and I think that's the boldness. That no matter how God is choosing to use you, if we're operating in that type of boldness, that's our character. That's just being who God, really wants us to be.
Yes, sir. Bishop, what you down there? I see you looking, Bishop. I see you looking. I know that look. Yeah, if you be who you gonna be, I think that's
because everybody else is taken. Who you gonna be?
Everybody else is taken. That's the truth. You only got room to be you. Everybody else taken. That's true.
I've been trying to grow my beard in like Bishop. Like,
you trying to look
can't
like
get the hair anymore. No, I can't get the hair anymore.
Yes, sir. But yeah, I think this was a really good show. And I like the fact that you talked about being bold. And I do believe the boldest people are the ones who do what God tells them to do and let God flow through them. That's bold. That's big. That's profound, because the disciples struggle with it all through the Bible. Everybody in the Bible, if you could just, God talk and you can understand it and then be what he tell you to be, that's big. That is very bold, to be who he authentically called you to be, to even find out what it is in your lifetime before you die, and to do it, that's really bold. Just being who you are.
I think one of the boldest people in the Bible to me was Joseph, because every time you look around, he was constantly in a life or death situation, and they would stand him up and be like, hey, now, if you say this, then we'll let you make it. But if you say that other stuff, we're going to definitely put you through some changes. And each time he stood up and he was like, listen, whatever happens, happens, brother. But this is what it really is. And he would always say what it really is. And he would keep it 100, and he wasn't running around, look at me, I'm Joseph. He was just doing his own thing because his opportunities came to him. He didn't go after them. He wasn't clap chasing, like the young people say. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't out there, showboating and flossing and creeping, rolling and bending corners and stuff. You feel me? He was just out there on the grind, you know what I'm saying, and just listening and saying what was on his mind.
I feel that same way about the greatest man ever in the Bible, Jesus. Like, his character and how he walked, he touched a lot of people's lives while he was walking on this earth. And not one time can I remember him out there like a street preacher doing it. Like they saw his light, they wanted to touch him, they wanted to know what he was talking about. Like, they was asking him questions, You said this earlier, Chanel, like learning to, I won't say work smarter, but just being what God created us to be. Like, he walked in love. He showed us how it's supposed to look. Like, even the disciples, they walking with him, and they got different personalities. So, Peter want to cut off an ear here and there, and they want to, they trying to figure out how to feed people and stuff. Like, so we're stumbling through life, but I think if we keep our eyes on his example. You know what I mean? The woman caught in adultery, the woman at the well, like how he handled people. And the thing about it is, in that time, Jesus was probably the most radical person ever. Like
Mhm.
all the stuff he was talking about compared to what everybody had heard was radical. So if you need that part of boldness, like he was that, you know, and he, to Dion's point, he didn't have to be loud, he didn't have to be aggressive, he didn't have to be none of that to accomplish so much, you know, so much here. So the last thing I want to leave, when I was doing the research for this, I found this interesting kind of ad on Google. So I guess anybody could probably look it up. But I was just looking up, you know, boldness in Christ, and it actually, there was like 4 steps that this person, I guess, typed up, and I thought they were pretty good. And they kind of sum up a lot of what we were talking about. Number 1 was, so how do you become a light in the midst of darkness? How do you be bold? Live a respectful and reputable life, not a hypocritical double life, right? Character again. What you do in the dark don't come to light. Like how you live behind closed doors is going to come out how you treat people, you know? Number 2 was choose to do the loving thing. You know, again, scripturally, like people, like they will know you by how you love people. And I'm not talking about that phileo love, the husband and wife love. I'm talking about that agape love, and that unconditional love. Avoid arguments. Be open to sharing your opinion with others without being apologetic about it. If they ask, again, this is the facts. This is the truth. You know, this is what I believe. And then know your faith well. You know, I think, you know, one of the questions I was going to ask, but, you know, we're running out of time, was why do people feel the need to try to be so aggressive with that? And I think that kind of lends into it. Like, if they really do understand their faith, like the way I think about it is, if I introduce you to Jesus, the same thing he did to me, the same journey he's taken me on throughout my whole life, he gonna take you on that. So if you have a pure interaction with Jesus Christ, I feel like he'll walk you through whatever is needed for your life to get you where you need to be, you know?
You don't have to force it on nobody. I said, you introduce yourself and they see how he do your life. I said, he the best thing ever happened to me, even on a bad day. I mean, Jesus cool. I mean, he get down into trouble with you. He discipline you. Even his discipline is cool. You know, it's like whatever you do is all right as long as you can hear him talking. But people, to know him is to love him. The people who know him don't love him and have all this stuff to say about him. If you got to know him, you would have a different life, different way you see life, a different way you see your family, different way you see you. He would radically change everything about your life and circumstances if you get to know him. So I would try to introduce people to him and not us, not our personalities, not our dogmas and our different religions and all these different backgrounds. If people got to know him and his totality, who Jesus is, oh, yeah, have a good life. If we introduce them to him and not all these other religions, you got to go to my church because you know they got it. Got to be Kojic, apostolic, this Pentecostal. No, leave all that out. Get to know him, the God of the Bible. I know there's words in the Bible. Talk to the one in behind the inspiration for those words. You have a good life. To know him is to love him.
And I do.
Chanel, did you have a good time with us tonight?
I had an absolute, yeah, it was great. I'm glad LaSonia had reached out to ask me about this. So it's always a joy to talk to other people who have gone through it, that's going through it, and can see, you know, the light on the other side. Because as you're walking through it, sometimes it's not so crystal clear. It's like you said, Shelton, you need people around you that have a very strong faith level, because if you surround yourself with people who think like you, oh, you in for it. You in for it. You be like, girl, you can't help. You know, you making it worse. Or, you know, so And Lasagna, like you said, God does help you see your family a different way, because being raised by my grandparents and being the only child for 18 years before my first sibling, it I was spoiled and I was sheltered. But when real life started happening, I'm like, now what's done happened here? Like I've been living in this bubble. God was good. And my grandmother did tell me, when you grow up and you find out how people feel about you, you may change a little bit, but don't let it change you for who God called you to be, because you're gonna always have trials and tribulation, because you're that one. And I didn't know what that meant until she passed away. And she was like, now you take the torch. I cried. I was like, God, you don't have to bring her back, because I'm not ready. I am not ready. I cannot do what she do, pray over my family like that. And I was like, I can't do it. I was like, but I knew what she meant, and it was true. I knew that to the core. I just didn't know how quick I was going to get to what she had told me I was going to be. And even now, sometimes, it brings tears, because you don't see yourself the way that other people see you sometimes.
Never do.
And that's hard when it smack you in your face and you're like, God, all this time you've been telling me that, and I've been trying to ignore it. Because I have a clear vision of very good. I can see very well. And sometimes what I say, I'm like, no, God, no, not today, not today. You're like, no, you got to be kidding. And he's like, no, that's what it is. It's done already happened in the spirit. It's just gonna take place in the natural.
Sure. That's
And
right.
I'd be like, oh, and I'd be like, okay, let me prepare.
Like Dion said, it's about the obedience of it,
Yeah.
And God shows us so much, and
Yeah.
it's the discipline and the faith to just go ahead and step. Okay, God, you said it. Let me do it. And the more we do it, the more we walk into, our purpose, and the more He reveals to us about ourselves. I can't tell you how much stuff I've learned about myself just from trusting Him. Like, oh, I can do this. I can do that. Hey, okay. I didn't go to school for this, but that experience is amazing. But it's a constant yes to Him. I think a lot of us stop at the yes of salvation. Yeah. But like every day got to be a yes. Every day, even the simple stuff. Talk to this person over here. Give this money to this person over here, or do that. All of these different things that God is talking to us through His Spirit throughout the day. How many of it how much do we do? How much do we don't do? And His grace is sufficient to where even when I didn't have the courage or the boldness to do it at that moment, He's gonna give me another chance somewhere else down the road. So what you say? Keep passing the test, Dion?
Keep passing it.
Still working on me by giving money and stuff, because what I'm saying? I ain't got it, brother. I ain't got it.
You ain't got it.
I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna keep it 100. People come up to me all the time. Look here, man. Can you spend? Nah, brother. I ain't got it. I ain't got it.
He's a long time. Look at him. He can't do it.
He works with
he just keeps testing. He keeps putting you.
And they keep coming up to me, so obviously I'm feeling.
Sheldon,
I'm failing it. I keep
end of the show. You know that was the end of the show.
He's still working on us, y'all. So I'll end it with this. Let's be bold. Hey, if you've listened to the show, you got comments, you have thoughts, comment, share with us what your thoughts are about being bold. If you have thoughts about being in corporate America, being a woman, being a single mother. Definitely, make sure you comment, and we'll make sure that we come back to it. Chanel, if you bless us, we'll have you on the show again to talk about some other stuff if you'd like.
Most definitely.
All right.
Real talk show. Well, I'm kicking it and having fun on inspirational radio. Real talk show.